What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I'm going to bring you a spicy, a competitive and an incredibly powerful Pendulum profile. Pen's best deck. Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to Yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com. So, today I'm going to bring you an update to my 60 card Pendulum Magicians. The Sea Monster Thesis already gives away one of the techs within the deck, but what is so good about the deck is the fact that it can continue to play. It plays extenders. The idea is to go through your first board combo without even needing to use your Pendulum summon or your normal summon. You then put your opponent in a predicament that is basically, do you hand trap me? Do you Nibiru me now? Because if you do, I still have my normal summon and I still have my Pendulum summon. I'm still going to build an incredibly powerful board as well. And I know you guys want to see how that has happened, so please smash that like button, get it to at least 50 likes, and I'll bring you a combo test time video for this deck as well to show you the absolute power ceiling of this mad Pendulum Magician deck. So, with all of that out of the way, I'm going to take you through the profile, and I'm actually going to break it down in a different way. Rather than going monster spells and traps, I'm actually going to break it down to your starters, your extenders, your overall Pendulum cards, and then I'm going to break it down to your hand traps, your interruptions, your bricks you don't want in your hand, and then we're going to go through interruptions as well. So let's start with the starters. So your starters of your deck will be triple Harmonizing Magician, double Zorro, and triple Tuning Magician. Now, the reason these are so good, another one of your starters can also be the Ready Fusion as well, but I've counted that more as an extender that we'll get to a little bit later on. Now, the reason that this is so important as your starter is they are your tuner on the board. Now, Zorro on his own is a one card Link to full combo that you need with one special summon. As long as you've got spells in the graveyard, you're pretty much able to climb up and do exactly what you need to get to your end board, which is ultimately going to help you with multiple negates, multiple interruptions, not just with your front row monsters, but with your back row spell and traps. And right now, in my opinion, the most successful decks are those that can utilize going both first and second, but also the ability to utilize not just front row monsters, but back row cards as well. Should your opponent try to interrupt, try to get involved, you are able to play through stuff like droplets and, of course, play through stuff like your Dark Rollers no mores as well. So it's just a lot harder for them to break your board, especially when you're putting up such an impressive board anyway. So these are your main starters. These are the ones that you would normal summon. You can bump Zorro up to 3 should you wish, but also tuning can count as an extender because it is the one that 9 out of 10 you're special summoning off of your Halley Fibrax. But it depends on what your opening hands are like, and sometimes you need to do it another way. But these will be the main cards you normal summon. Ideally, what you want to be doing is you actually want to be comboing off 2 extenders, one of them being your Ready Fusion and one of them being just your free Pendulum summon. So that's for your normal summons, your main starters to give you your combo. Then we look into the extenders. So the extenders will be triple Magician Souls, which actually combos off very well with Ready Fusion because multiple Ready Fusions can then be sent to the grave for additional draws. Your Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser, your Chronograph Sorcerer leading into your Time Gazer, your one Crowley, which is searched off of Zorro to then be a discard as a free summon, and then of course your triple Ready Fusion. So the spice on the triple Ready Fusion is the Sea Monster Thesis. Now you can of course play the level 2 that we received in the Dawn of Majesty, but the reason that you could actually go with Theseus more so is because you do actually play 2 level 8s. So should your opponent try and interrupt you, should this become a later game kind of option, not only can it be used as mainly Link fodder, but it can also be comboed off with the Time Gazer to make one of your synchros. Whereas the level 2 would actually require you to play different synchros, going that route forward. All of these are pretty much just a free summon in one form or another. Of course, if anything gets destroyed, Chronograph then becomes the free summon as well. And that's how you can ultimately get 2 on the board for pretty much nothing. So Gamma, beware. So that's it for your extenders. Moving on to just your general Pendulum cards that you are going to need to be using in this particular deck. You do play your triple Wisdom Eye, which in a sense is your kind of go-getter. The fact that he sets up your scales, sets up the extra deck, and then can become a free monster being special summoned from the extra deck or from your hand, just allows you to maintain resource. Speaking about maintain resource, your most important scale is going to be Oath Dragon Magician, because that is going to be allowing you to get back the cards from your extra deck. If you wanted to spice the deck up a little bit more, you could be playing stuff like the Pendulum Treasure, which lets you put a Pendulum monster from your deck face up into the extra deck. You could also play the Psy monster as well. Let me just get a copy out of it. This can be a very nice side card, depending on what the format is like. So this one particularly says, in the scale, it's a scale 0. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, except monsters. And then you can reveal this card in your hand and one other Pendulum monster from your hand, or one card from your Pendulum zone, and put it into the extra deck face up, and then special summon this card down. If a monster or monsters is normal or special while you control this card, send that card or cards to the graveyard during the end phase. So he is a very nice sideboard option, and they're really cheap right now, so I'd highly advise picking these up. Then, of course, we continue on with Double Iris, which is now back at free, but to be completely honest with you, I don't feel that I need it at free. I've got plenty of high scales. I'm not playing the Tornado Dragon pop and go to get the traps plays, which you can do. Again, it's an option to put in the side deck. I've kind of felt that I'm not relying on those traps and spells as much, purely for the fact that I do play the Phantom Knight engine. Now, if I cut this down to a 40 card version, that's where, of course, you're going to be putting in your Dagders, you're going to put in your Scythe, and you can also put in your Tornado Dragon, because your extra deck changes quite a lot. And I will be showing you about 20 different cards in the extra deck, just so you have some options dependent on your budget and range. For your other high scale, we are playing the Dragon Pit. Like, this is very good for dealing with some back row and floodgates. Not to mention, the ideal scales that I like to have is Oath and Dragon Pit. And then I can be using this as level 4. But obviously, if this is in the scale, you do want to be using its own effect to destroy it, to do double battle damage. And that's another way of getting to your spells and traps for backup plays, future plays, and anything you might need. But ultimately, you should be winning the game 2 as well. And the last Pendulum monster is Purple Poison. Its scale effect does come up. If someone does flip anti-spell against you, this card is the Mac Daddy of the deck. Now, I'm not saying that's what you want to rely on it for, because that's exactly not. But as a level 4, a nice 2100 defense, and a low scale, it is incredibly important for the deck. Moving on to hand traps, and when I say hand traps, we are only playing one hand trap, and that is the Gamma package. Now, of course, it is a 60 card version. You're going to bury your hand traps. Your hand traps aren't really going to help you extend. If you wanted to cut these out of the main, you could do, but the reason I've gone with this is that we play so many cards, stuff like Pendulum Call. We've also got our Duelist Alliance, our Law of Darkness, Pot of Desires, everything like that. Now, not the most competitive players aren't going to ash certain ones. They're going to wait for you to put a monster on the board. But there are times where Gamma will put in a lot of work for you. Protect that, give you a free level 8 on the board, and it is a tuner. So whether you then just link these into Halley Firebrax and play your combo out without even needing to use anything, or whether you choose to go into a Omega to rip another card from your opponent's hand in order to continue your combos. Because trust me, once you get your max end board, which is pretty much an Appaloosa negate for 2, a Verte, a Dragoon, a hand, plus you're going to be sitting on 1, if not 2 Fog Blades, depending on the route that you want to go. So then we move on to the bricks. We move on to the cards you don't want in your hand, but are incredibly important without or throughout the deck. So for those particular bricks, we are playing the 1 Phantom Knights of Silent Boots, the 1 Ancient Cloak, alongside a single Codebreaker 0 Day, Red Eyes Black Dragon, Dark Magician, and Red Eyes Fusion. Now, obviously, these are the cards you don't want to see in your hand, more so Red Eyes Fusion than anything, because it's very rare that you're going to go, okay, cool, Red Eyes Fusion, hold 4 cards in my hand, and that would be enough. You're probably going to actually want to combo off. The other side for these is it doesn't matter if you've got your scales, because these can just be free summons, and then if you wanted to go down a rank 7 route, you could do. So these are the ones that you don't want to ideally open up. If you really hate the Verte package and don't want to play it, again, when we get to the extra deck, I'll show you alternative options. These can easily come out for your Skullcrobat Joker. They can come out for the Performer Pal Pendulum Magician. It can come out for a third Zorro, and it can also come out for your other Performer Pal monsters should you wish to go down that route as well. But the reason behind these is free extender that leads you to a Fog Blade, send off of Bardiche to give you a Fog Blade or to give you boots, and then ultimately lead on from there. Your Codebreaker 0 Day gives you the access to rank 4s, it gives you access to Dragoon, but it also gives you access to be link climbing higher and making more of your extra deck plays, and mainly going through Bardiche. And then of course Dragoon package, because didn't get hit on the ban list, so you know, Mac Daddy Boss Monster, let's go. And then moving on to your general searches, you've got triple Duelist Alliance and triple Pendulum Call, alongside a single star Pendulum Graph. All pretty self-explanatory on this. You could cut Pendulum Call down if you want, but because it's a 60 card version, I actually want to open this card up. And this is the biggest kind of bait for an Ash ever if you've got a Gamma. So the idea is you want to try and play through certain things first before you activate your Pen Call. If you've got no other options, you activate the Pen Call, hope they Ash you, and you go, right, cool, Gamma, let's go. Moving on to the draw cards, we are playing triple Allure of Darkness and triple Pot of Desires. Again, 60 card deck. You only really want to be activating Desires as final extension. Once you've got your one-offs out of the deck, you've got like your Silent Boots, your your Ancient Cloak and your 0 Day out of the deck, plus maybe your Dragoon package. If your board's already strong enough without the Dragoon package, it doesn't really matter. And the Allure of Darkness is great fodder to banish said Red Eyes, to banish said Dark Magician, should you want to, in order to kind of dig through your deck that little bit more. Then finally, your control cards and technically an extender card in the traps. We are rocking 2 Time Pendulum Graph, 2 Phantom Knights of Fogblade, and the 1 Phantom Knight of Shade Brigandine. Now, the best thing about this is Shade Brigandine is a free extender, so should you open up this and Ready Fusion, activate these, Halley Firebrax, here we come, still maintained our normal summon. Now, through the combo, what you get the option for is you get the option of a Fogblade plus a Shade Brigandine or 2 Fogblades, depending on what you need on the board in order to either finish your Verte combo or in order to finish another Link Climb combo, should you be going something spicy like Avramax, or should you want to be going for rank 4 plays as well. It does also give you a follow-up play. If you open up a Fogblade, it doesn't matter. If you open up any of these, it doesn't matter as long as you get to combo, because then your end board is going to be 2 Fogblades with further plays. Now, obviously, if you do throw a Tornado Dragon into the extra deck, that is where this can then become ultimately a Time Thief Reader with a free bounce, or it becomes a Tornado Dragon that pops the double Iris, which then gives you a Time Pendulum Graph, so that then you take away from going into a Verte because maybe you haven't got a hand or you've burnt through your entire hand, and your board is then going to be Time Pendulum Graph, 1 if not 2 Fogblades, plus your front row board of a double negate Appaloosa, and of course Shade Brigandine or Rusty Bardiche playing off the back of that as well. So that's it for the trap cards, that's it for the entire main deck. That is a full 60 card deck. Like I said, I've actually had an incredible lot of fun with this deck. It does have a very high power ceiling, and the reason that it works so well is for the pure fact that it just doesn't stop. And a lot of opponents aren't used to playing against Pendulum Magicians right now. They don't know what they do, they don't know where they go. And then once they realise that you've done so much without even committing your normal summon, they kind of go, oh, well, that's going to suck. I can't really deal with that. I now need to do this. The only other big downside for this particular deck is side decking. That's when it gets very, very difficult. Obviously, facing Zeus going first or going second can be a bit of an issue because it can just send and clear your board. But ultimately, the game should be done by turn 2 and they shouldn't be able to break it turn 1. So there's a lot to kind of consider when you make that play as well. Moving on to the extra deck, we'll talk about the main 15 first, and then we'll touch on the other cards you can use as alternatives. So, of course, the brand new card that's gone in there is Sea Monster of Theseus, level 5 vanilla tuner that is going to help get you either into your Halley Firebrax combo plays, or it's going to help you get into your pretty much end board that can go into one of the synchros. Then for the Link monsters, we'll start with the Link one, which is Artemis. This is mainly for your Zoro plays, but it does also come up sometimes if you want to go into an Avramax, should you play that over access code. And the reason you would be doing that is for the pure fact that you need to turn the spellcaster you bring back from the grave from Selene into a Link monster to go into Avramax. So sometimes Avramax is a better option to go for than Appaloosa. It really depends on your particular play route and your particular play style. Then continuing on with the rest of our extra deck, we go into the Link 2. And the Link 2s, of course, are going to be 2 of the most broken Link 2s in the game to date. And that is, of course, Verte Anaconda and Halley Firebrax. Now, of course, Halley Firebrax is all about the combo. The idea is that Halley Firebrax summons out Tuner Magician from the deck. Tuner Magician and Halley Firebrax go into Selene. Off the back of Selene, you're then reviving the Tuner Magician. Then you're going to use Tuner Magician plus Selene to go into an Appaloosa. And then off the back of that, that's when your Pendulum summons protected from Nibiru or anything else. That's when you can start normal summoning. You can also special summon back the Tuner Magician through her own effect. So then all you need to do is normal summon, maintaining your Pendulum summon. That then lets you go through the entire Codebreaker combo, which ends up going into Virus Berserker, Virus Swordsman, ultimately into a Bardiche with the ability of either a rank 4 on the horizon, or the ability to go into a link 4 or higher, depending on what you want to go. So again, with this, you could ultimately try and go into a Avramax, but again, keep in mind that when you make the Virus Berserker, it brings back the sword from the grave, so it's technically not a monster from the extra deck. The other Link monster that we do play that I've kind of skipped over is Link Spider. The only reason you would play this is to turn your Shade Brigandine into an effect monster in order to go into Verte Anaconda, because remember, it requires 2 effect monsters. Obviously, for our boss monster, we do have the Red Earth Dark Dragoon coming off the back of the Verte. Again, if you don't play that package, don't worry. I will show you the alternative options that you can particularly play, should you want to as well. Then continuing on from our Link monsters, our defensive Link 4 will be Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. No surprise there. Our aggressor will be Access Code Talker. Now, obviously, right now, you're not going to have the ability of making access code with the Shade Brigandine, but you will have the ability that should you not want to go into the Fogblade and you're playing second, you could use your Virus Swordsman plus your the level 4 that comes out of the deck, or of course your Swordsman, entirely up to you. Make access code, still gain 3k, and still swinging for attacks. There has been a time where I've actually made access code with Appaloosa and then given it 4k, purely for the fact that it has the ability of, once you've used Appaloosa, all you need to do is get 3 other monsters on the board, and happy days, you're good to roll into access code, and that really is a power play. Then for the Synchros, we do have the 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, followed up by, of course, the 1 Time Star Magician. So see, Time Star Magician gives you that access to Magician's Souls, which can ultimately lead you into free draws should you want to be digging towards the end of your combo. It can also protect your scales, so that should you have not used Pendulum Call for the entire turn, the trap card is live to target, destroy, and then non-target send, which is incredibly invaluable in the way the game is kind of going these particular days. Now, the last card that you could easily add in is entirely up to you, and then I'll show you the alternative options, depending on the route and aggression you want to go. So these will be the alternative options. The last card is down to your personal playstyle. If you want to go for a defensive or a more offensive/defensive card, you can go for an Avramax. Avramax is also a very good replacement for, of course, access code. If you are worried that your Gamma is going to be dead throughout your combo, you can put in a Psyframe Lord Lambda, but a little bit less down the road. And the only reason I would go for a Lambda is if you were to combo it off with a Redoer, because then obviously Redoer banishes during the end phase, or you can banish Redoer even if you don't make it, or even if you do make it with the Shade Brigandine. That will then give you a Gamma, so you've already adding up the amount of interruptions you're going to have on your opponent. IP Masquerena, less so with this particular lineup. Yes, it would be nice to make Bardiche slightly indestructible. Yes, it would be nice to make Appaloosa, or of course Access Code slightly indestructible, or even Selene. But the chances are those monsters aren't going to stay on the board long enough to even be worried about IP Masquerena's protection. Off the back of that, the only other reason you'd make this is to have 2 monsters that aren't darks, turn them into a dark in order to get into your Bardiche. Of course, you've got the Omega that comes off of the back of the Gamma package, should you want to do that. But for the pure root of this deck, ultimately, if I've resolved the Gamma package, I'd probably rather go and continue my combo and maintain the other cards in my hand, so that I can then unlock rank 4 plays, Synchro level 8 plays, or anything along those lines without even need to worry. So this is probably a less so, but again, down to personal preference. Tornado Dragon can also be the last card. It would be the one that you would make instead of Time Star. This becomes even more prominent if you decide to play Dagda. Now, obviously, if you do play Dagda, you put Scythe in the main deck. Again, comes down to personal preference and playstyle, but it does give you another option. Again, if you want to take out the Dragoon package, because technically you've already got access code as your boss monster, you can, of course, put in Phoenix and Unicorn as other forms of disruption, which would build off the back of your IP Masquerena. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much it for the deck. Like I said, what makes this deck so good and underrated right now is because a lot of people haven't played against this for such a long time. They don't kind of already know the modernized interactions that this deck can produce. If they are used to facing it, they will also then need to worry for the pure fact that you can save your normal summon, you can save your Pendulum summon for the point that you've already got Appaloosa, meaning that Nibiru is not a threat to you. Or if they drop Nibiru, you still have that token to use. You can still go into Verte, straight away Verte Dragoon, pop the Nibiru, you've burnt your opponent for 3k, you've already got Dragoon on the board. You can turn your token into Link Spider, giving you an additional zone to special a Pendulum from the extra deck. Not to mention you've done all of that with like 2 cards, still leaving you with 3 cards to play play around with, and that's then ultimately going to allow you to build your scales, build your pendulum summon. Everything they've just nibiru'd is going to be coming back anyway, apart from the link monsters, which isn't the end of the world when you're going to be playing something like Access Code or of course Celine, and revive it and loop it around that way as well. So like I said, incredible amount of fun with this deck, incredible amount of power. The ceiling is absolutely crazy. The reason that I've gone for a 60 card deck is that I do want that balance between front row and back row. If you don't like that balance and you're a stickler for having 40 cards, then straight away, just by taking out the Phantom Knight engine, that's 5 cards out. Straight away by taking out the Code Breaker engine, that's 2 cards from your extra deck freed up, alongside the Shade Brigade, your Rusty Bardiche, meaning 3 additional zones freed up. And if you don't want to play the Dragoon, that's another 3 cards. So you're already down to 50 cards. And then that's when you'd probably limit the amount of tuners that you operate to. So there's your Ready Fusions going. That's also your Magician's Souls, if you don't have them, can go. It's not the end of the world. And then that's where you'd probably cut the Zorro package. But personally, I really, really like it. Anyway, like I said at the start, if you do want to see a combo test stand video for this deck, then smash that like button, hit the notification bell and subscribe. Getting this video to at least 50 likes will unlock that tomorrow for you. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Stay safe, guys. And as absolutely always, happy dueling. Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com, where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.